Hello and welcome to the Trending Now podcast for this Friday, August the 9th, 2024. I'm Louie Butko and thanks for joining us. However you found us here on CHCH podcast as we recap the week that was on Trending Now, which can get you every Monday to Friday, 7 p.m. and 11:30 on CHCH, CHCH.com and streaming live on our Trending Now YouTube page. Coming up on today's show, Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris officially chooses Minnesota Governor Tim Walz to be her vice presidential candidate as the two hit rallies across the U.S. This as Republican candidate Donald Trump turns back the clock to 2016 with an hour-long press conference from Mar A Lago. The host of Trending Now, Nicole Martin, joins us with the latest on the state of the race. Russia has declared a federal-level emergency in the Kursk region following a large-scale incursion from Ukraine. Jason Gaidola has been following this story this week and joins us later on the show for the absolute latest. And Austrian authorities have announced a third arrest in connection with the foiled conspiracy to attack three now canceled Taylor Swift concerts. Manesa Dhanabalan joins us before we say goodbye with the latest on that story. But we start with the host of Trending Now.
Look at my vibe today. This is like, it's been a long week.
Listen, if we want to talk vibes, we want to talk vibes. I'm already on the vacation mustache mode that I'm rocking here. Are you off next week? I'm off next week.
Oh, that's
So I was
nice.
a little bit early with normally I would have kept the rest of the facial hair a little bit longer. But I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go with it. I got Trending Now today. Mm-hmm. I got a few more hours and then I'm on vacation for a full week.
Are you going to just let that mustache grow the whole week off?
Probably.
Just let it run.
This is kind of like, it's going to max out at this though.
You think?
This is
it doesn't get straggly and come out?
I'll trim it. I'll keep it like somewhat presentable.
Okay.
Selena, our 6 p.m. producer, I finally got something out of her to say something about it. I'm like, so nobody's going to say anything. She's like, I didn't know if I was allowed. Matt Ferrato, our evening micro truck operator, he came in and it was the first thing he said.
Mustache.
So, yeah.
Close up.
I don't think it looks that bad.
Mike, getting closer. Say, come in.
I don't think with the whole combo, I actually don't think it looks that bad. But people on the internet will disagree with me, as they tend to do.
They tend to do that. That's fine. Leave it to them.
Last time you were on the show, Joe Biden was still running for president. Mm-hmm. We were wondering whether he was going to still be running for president. A lot has happened in the last few weeks. Where do you stand on where the race stands?
Oh, well, it sounds as though Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are now leading at this point. So this is huge. This is a big moment for Trump because Trump actually, especially after his assassination attempt, had really been running up in the polls. But now it's like, where is he? What's going on? The whole news cycle right now is Kamala, and Tim Walz.
Except
that
for
was a big
yesterday.
week.
We'll get into his rambling. And like I said in the intro, it was sort of circa 2016. It was, that's a stupid question. Why are you asking? Like he was attacked. Like he was Trump 8 years ago, right? It was rambly at times. It made no sense.
Some things I think have changed a little bit with him.
And now we're asking about his age.
I think he's bought. I think back in 2015, 2016, he really seemed like he was doing this. This is Trump. This is who he is. But you can kind of tell that now he's really following the Republican ways. He's on that ticket. And he's bought in some ways.
We'll get to some of the highlights, so to speak. I was surprised that MSNBC, CNN, they stayed with him. Normally, when he was president, they'd get out of those sorts of things, provide live fact checks. But again, we'll dive into that in a second. Kamala Harris on Monday, announced her vice presidential candidate.
No, you're right, Tuesday.
It was Tuesday. Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Mm-hmm. We thought the answer was coming Monday. She wanted to sleep on it one more day. And then at a rally in Philadelphia, thank you. Tim Walz, a bit of a surprise. A lot of people thought it was going to be Shapiro there in the governor of Pennsylvania.
Because you're looking for the battleground states, that blue wall. Like they need that to win and to keep the White House. And so he's from the Midwest. He's from Minnesota. So, I mean, they're looking for that area as well. So, but it's an interesting pick. And apparently there were a number of people who just didn't want the job. Yeah. So I don't know where he stood on the line and the list of people who she was looking for a running mate. But Yeah, he's 60 too, eh?
Yeah, well,
60 years old.
So the Josh Shapiro stuff, there was a lot of people, the right obviously attacking Kamala Harris for not selecting him, saying, well, Kamala Harris, the Democrats don't like Jewish people.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that her husband, Doug Emhoff, is Jewish. Despite the fact Chuck Schumer, the highest ranking Democrat, is also Jewish.
Yeah.
But a lot of people were thrown off about Shapiro's ambition and that he wasn't going to be a number 2 in a Harris presidency, wanted equal kind of footing, and I think that threw off Harris. Walz, I think, seems like the kind of guy who would kind of just be happy to be vice president.
I also think it did have a lot to do with Israel because so much was coming back from Shapiro's time, really advocating for Israel. I think he was in the IDF as well, and they want to stay away from that because what Harris is finding this week, even at her rally in Detroit that was interrupted by protesters, is she's coming to terms with the fact that there's a lot of people within the Democrats that are very much against Israel and its war in Gaza. So they're trying to balance that right now. I think if they went with a Jewish VP pick, there could have been a lot of infighting within the Democrats. This guy seems a lot
especially
safer.
What he has written about it in past, what he has said about it. Obviously, Cori Bush, obviously that happened this week too. The member of the Squad, AIPAC, a traditionally very pro-Israel super PAC, funding money into her opponent. So lots happening in U.S. politics, including
so much behind the scenes, right?
So
that
much behind the scenes.
We're really seeing that play out.
Are you surprised by the way everything, because again, we talked a lot about this building up. Are you surprised how quickly everybody came behind Kamala Harris? Are you surprised that this enthusiasm, a lot of people, and rightfully, wrongfully, saying it's like '08 all over again, right? There's enthusiasm. There's young people at rallies. She's got a catchy, we're not going back. She's got a catchy slogan. I'll admit, I watched Tuesday Night Live. I heard her speak. She had been away for a few weeks. I think she got probably, because this all came up really very, very quickly. She had to go from VP to presidential candidate / now front runner very quickly.
But again, so much happens behind the scenes that we don't know about. So for that whole couple weeks, like when was that CNN debate? Oh my gosh, it feels like it was like a year ago, but I think it was June, end of June. So since that moment, they were already putting the wheels in motion here. So she would have had some kind of thought or understanding that it could very well be Biden will drop out, you will be the one. So they would have this plan in place. But yeah, it's been actually very exciting to see so many people come behind her. I think that the one shock that I had was at first the Obamas were not endorsing her. It took a couple of days for that. So it was like, was Michelle Obama thinking that she could have stepped in? Who knows? But yeah, she's got like the celebrity superpower behind her too. All of her rallies.
Swift, maybe
she hinted
the picture.
at it.
Yeah. I mean, she's going to. Come on. I have to think. We'll get into the latest on T Swift, as I mentioned in the intro as well. So where's Trump in all this?
Well,
JD Vance, he did that press conference yesterday. You did a story on that.
But they've been talking so much about the Midwest and the blue wall and the battleground states. And it's like, JD Vance is on his own out there. He's out there getting off the plane. It was hilarious. The Wisconsin tarmac, his plane arrives just after Kamala and Walz step out of their plane. And so it's like, oh my gosh, they have like the same schedule, same itinerary, but Trump's nowhere to be found because he's chilling in Florida in Mar A Lago.
And that's where he did the press conference yesterday.
It's like, okay, reporters, come to my house. And then he even says at one point too, he's like, you need to speak up. He's yelling at the reporters. He's like, this home is worth $18 million. And you're like, okay, all right, Trump.
It's the most valuable piece of property in Florida, as he loves to remind people. Like I said, it did feel very 2016, airing of grievances, the baseless attacks, and it also feels like he wants to be front and center. Everybody's talking about Kamala. Nobody's talking about Trump. What does he do? He goes, and like I said, that was more than an hour yesterday that he spoke, 90 minutes approaching. Is it going to work? I mean, it's not 2016. He's been president before. Is it going to work?
Well, he's apparently out on the campaign trail today. So obviously someone within his camp said, this is not enough. Like, we need to see you out there at a rally again. Does he have PTSD from, I don't know. He's been out at other rallies since the assassination attempt. But Yeah, it probably wasn't enough. The one thing that he has done through that press conference was really target the Harris campaign and the fact that they're not taking questions from reporters. So here he did do this whole 90-minute, very Trump-style speech, and it was actually mainly answering questions.
Yeah.
So I think that they're using that as, hey, I'm here and I'm trying to be
As
transparent.
opposed to-
What's Harris doing? She's getting up at a podium with all of her fans at these rallies that are Democratic voters. And she's not taking questions from the media. The first time she did in weeks was last night when someone quickly tried to clip her as she's going up to her plane, Air Force One, and they were asking her about the debate. Because now we know September 10th.
Which earlier in the week, because of his ongoing lawsuit with ABC News and George Stephanopoulos, he couldn't do it. But now, even
they've switched the moderators.
But it was never going to be George Stephanopoulos, though, right? It was
hilarious.
Yeah. So the report today from Puck Magazine, Tara Palmieri, saying that Trump is looking to bring in Kellyanne Conway to shake up his faltering campaign.
Well, we know
2016 all over again. I'm telling you.
You're right. You nailed it, Ben.
What are we? We are less than 3 months away.
All we need now is Steve Bannon.
Who's in jail? I think he's in jail, by the way. Yeah, I think he's in jail.
Roger Stone. Yeah. Bring back the oldies. Yeah.
Rob Manafort. All these people who have gone to jail. Yeah. 3 months to go. How you feeling?
It's every day. But you can't help it. It's trending. It's all the top thing. I mean, tonight you'll see it's Walz versus Vance, and it's like military records. Now they're comparing, did Walz intentionally put forward his retirement and his resignation from the military to avoid deployment to Iraq? That's Vance's whole thing. But meanwhile, now Vance is coming under fire because, yes, he did go to Iraq, but he was in public affairs, so he was writing press releases. He didn't actually do any fighting in Iraq. But
fun.
Yeah,
fun.
It never ends.
You got big plans for the weekend?
Yeah, I'm going to a farm. I'm going to Spring Ridge Farm.
Oh, no
with little Mia. Yeah, she loves it.
Is she a big farm girl?
She does. She loves tractor rides. There's a big sandbox.
You're
she loves
going to have the time. And it's supposed to be a beautiful weekend for it, too.
Thank you, Lou.
All right, well, enjoy. Thanks for doing this. You got to get ready for the show?
Yeah.
Okay.
Take my hat off, do my hair. I don't know. We'll see.
I'll let you do that. All right. Nicole Martin, my thanks to her for joining me. Still ahead, Jason Gaidola and Manesa Dhanabalan will be by as well. I wanted to get to some trending news across the pond, where Britain's Prime Minister held a second emergency meeting with his cabinet over the widespread rioting in many cities. Tensions remain high following the stabbing rampage that killed 3 young girls at a dance class last week and the misinformation surrounding the suspect's identity and citizenship. Prime Minister Keir Starmer labeled the violence as far-right thuggery and blamed social media for causing it. Starmer's comments captured the attention of the owner of X, Elon Musk, who chimed in questioning the government and the police's response to the riots. The protesters and counter-protesters continue to rock cities like Plymouth, Birmingham, Liverpool, and Belfast following the fatal stabbing of 3 young girls last week. The murder sparked misinformation over the suspect's identity and religion, but the authorities confirmed the teen suspect is from Britain and that the incident was not terror-related. The outrage over migrants and Muslim communities also being felt by those on the outside looking in. However, as police try to break up the riots, counter-protesters continued to grow, and Britain's freshly elected Prime Minister blamed social media's platforms for sparking the riots, which in turn caught the attention of billionaire Elon Musk, who tweeted at the UK leader asking about the protection of all communities. Musk said that civil war is inevitable in the UK and later doubled down, highlighting complaints that the British criminal justice system treats Muslims more leniently than far-right activists and comparing Britain's crackdown on social media users to that of the Soviet Union. It's Elon Musk, and that's the latest in UK. And I believe, Jason Gaidola, did you work on that story earlier this week?
I did, yeah. Crazy violence out in the UK. It's just...
Well, all because of this misinformation.
It's looking like the medieval times there.
Right? It's, this misinformation about this person who is an immigrant. No, they were born in the UK. So we'll keep our eye on that. You've been working on the latest in Ukraine. They're going on the counter offense now. What's the latest? What's happening there?
It seems to have caught a lot of people by surprise. I don't think anybody was expecting it, based off the people that I've talked to that have that look at this closely. Obviously, somebody who's Used to be an Canadian ambassador to NATO, and it was completely by surprise, calculated, of course, because I think right now Ukraine is what's being the strategy is twofold. I mean, I think I don't, in terms of the timing, I'm not too sure, but from what it appears is that the strategy is to help try to bring the Russian troops in the eastern front of Ukraine out of those areas to come back and start fighting and alleviating those areas. Also, the second theory is this going to be the Kursk region that they've invaded, they've incurred into? Is this going to be a bargaining chip for when there could be potential peace talks? Because that's kind of the prediction. Zelensky offered Russia to come to the next summit, which is in November, coincidentally scheduled right before the presidential election. So that U.S. presidential election, the outcome of that could be a determining factor on how those peace talks may go. So I'm not sure. From my point of view, it's kind of hard to predict, because does Zelensky want a peace deal before there's a result, because in case Trump wins? Or is this kind of like a threat to Russia saying, let's talk peace now, because if the Democrats win, you could have 4 more years of all this money and all this support and all these resources, and we're going to keep going.
Because Trump's been pretty clear that he thinks he can end the war relatively quickly, is what he says. So just to be clear, so Ukrainians are going into Russian territory, like you said.
They've gone at least about, from what I'm seeing the reports, it could be as up to maybe 15 kilometers in. Apparently, they're in an area where there's a nuclear power plant. There's some energy resources. I don't know if they're going to just take that hostage. Who knows? But they've made some significant gains where now Russia has declared a federal state of emergency. They've had to call in their reserves, from what I understand, which is basically the reserve army that does not get sent out in a foreign land, but they have to protect inland. So right now, there's the whole war is it's a complete tactical shift right now.
Yeah, huge. And obviously Russia not taking this lightly. They attacked a Ukrainian grocery store today.
They did.
14 people killed, another 43 injured in that. So, I mean, just a reminder, this war's been going on for more than 2 years, February 2022, that it's been going on. So you said the next peace talks aren't until November, though?
Well, there's a global peace summit that is scheduled. The date has not been confirmed, I don't believe, but it's, from what I understand, is that they're aiming to have it right before the U.S. presidential election. So November could be a big month.
Yeah, and it's been a while since, obviously this war has been ongoing, but back in the headlines, front and center, especially this week, you working on it the last couple of days, and you'll have more on it in tonight's show.
Absolutely.
Let's talk a little Olympics. How much have you been watching? What have you been watching? Or have you found yourselves, how have you been watching the Olympics?
Yeah, I try to watch whatever I can. I mean, I personally only have interest. I mean, I watch how Canada does. I always watch how the Canadians are going to do. And frankly, Canada's been doing really well. They may pass their, I think their most
23 was the one they had last. I think they've already passed
the non-boycott. If you don't include the boycott year, and I believe 84.
Another gold today in the 4x100.
What a race, man! It just brought me back to when Canada was a track power,
right?
and granted, it was a big mess up for the U.S.
Something had to go wrong, but still
on the second runner, it was bad, but. I mean, you still got to beat the other people, right?
Absolutely.
So it was a great win. Track is one of my favorites, and the 100-meter dash. Always watching it. It's the most. I think it's the most electrifying event at the Olympics.
And it went right down to the wire this year.
It went right down to the wire.
Literally.
Yeah.
A couple of golds, right? A couple of surprise golds. The hammer throw, the new national sport of Canada, I guess we're going to have to say. But some disappointing finishes as well. And we can put Andre DeGrasse in this, not making the final for the first time in his Olympic career. But the basketball.
Good.
You can blame the referees, which is what a lot of the Canadians were doing afterwards. A very hostile crowd playing France in the quarterfinals, but for a team that had so much promise, so much depth, Jamal Murray coming off the bench, a little bit of a disappointment, you could say.
It was a disappointment for the men's. It was disappointing to see how overall, Jamal Murray was just not that clutch player that we're used to seeing, and this is I mean, what is it? A 7-game tournament?
Yeah, basically.
It's the margin for error in these international tournaments, whether soccer, basketball, whatever. They're so small, right? You have one bad game, and all of a sudden, it's like disappointment. It's a lot to ask for. I really thought Canada. I mean, they were in a monster bracket. I really didn't like this. I really don't like the way this Olympic basketball tournament's going. I think it does look shady to me. It does look shady. It's like you look at the U.S. It's like they have like three. They could field 3 basketball teams,
and they have the easiest path.
And they have the easiest path, and all like the favorites. Canada, Germany, Spain, even France. Well, I mean, I guess France because they're at home, all on one side of the bracket. And then the U.S. gets to play Brazil and then Serbia. Serbia. I know Serbia
they were
took
up by
them.
11 at the half.
They took it to them, but Serbia is not I don't think they're the team they used to be.
Jokic, one of the best players in the world.
That's it. But other than that, it's like it just looks like. I'm sorry to say it, but it looks like propaganda. It really does, and I mean,
and it is like the one attend, like it's highly attended, right? You get to see all these NBA superstars.
But that's what it is.
It was. I did watch the fourth quarter of yesterday's game, USA's comeback, basically, and it was like LeBron to Steph for the 3, and it was like, okay, like that's
the best player.
That's kind of cool.
The best player for the United States for me was Kevin Durant because the games, every game, most of the games that I've saw, and when he stepped in, he would turn the game around. When they would go on a run, he'd hit it like 2-3 straight shots, and it would just change the whole face of the game. So
I know you got to get ready for today's show, but I'm going to ask you, what do you got going on this weekend?
Oh boy, I got a wedding.
A wedding.
Yeah.
Oh, where is it? Where to crash it?
In London.
In London?
Yeah,
all right.
are you
Okay. Yeah, I can crash a London wedding. Yeah, why not? Why not? I got nothing to do. I'm on vacation. I got nothing to
crash
do.
It.
Jason Gaidola, thank you so much for doing this. Really appreciate it.
Much appreciated.
All right. Jason Gaidola, my thanks to him for joining today's show. In just a little bit, we'll be joined by Manesa Dhanabalan, so hang tight for that. But wanted to get to this story as well, which was trending this week. The latest on a foiled Toronto terror attack, where Canada's public safety minister said this week that the federal departments are reviewing how the 2 men arrested, a father and son duo, were allowed into Canada in the first place with suspected links to a terrorist group abroad. A Global News reported over the weekend that the father had taken part in an assault shown in a video released by ISIS before he immigrated to Canada. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre saying the Trudeau government needs to explain how the 2 men that had links to the Islamic State terror group were able to immigrate to Canada. Meanwhile, Conservative House Leader Andrew Scheer is demanding that the Commons recall its Public Safety Committee to dig into the case that involves 62-year-old Ahmed El-Didi and his 26-year-old son Mostafa. The father and son duo were arrested in Richmond Hill last month and faced 9 different terrorism charges, including conspiracy to commit murder and possession of weapons for terrorism purposes. RCMP telling the media last week that the father faces an additional count of aggravated assault outside Canada, and Global News had the exclusive details on that one. The offices of the Public Safety and Immigration Ministers telling Trending Now Conservatives, quote, would rather risk undoing the tremendous work of our security agencies just to score a few political points. That was the only terrorism story we had this week, and one affecting something we talk about a lot here on the show, and that being Taylor Swift. And for more on that, I'm very pleased to be joined by Manesa Dhanabalan. Hi, Manesa.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great. Great to have you back on the show. It's been a while.
Thank you. I'm a little short.
Where you been?
I've actually been doing the pre-tape. I was doing the pre-tape for a while. And doing some 6 p.m. news shifts for a while there. So that was nice.
Maybe a couple next week, too? But other than that,
2 next week.
2 next week.
I'll be on the 6 p.m. news.
Yay. But of course, you are a huge part of the Trending Now family and going to be a regular occurring guest here on the podcast every Friday. Yeah. So looking forward to that.
Thank you.
But let's talk about this Taylor Swift. So Austria, like all 3 shows were canceled. Fans certainly making the most of it, though.
I mean, there was lots of tears. I mean, there's only so much they can make of it, but they were like, okay, we're just going to gather. And, they were singing, they were dancing, crying. It was sad. And exchanging their friendship bracelets.
Yeah, but this wasn't just like, oh, somebody tweeted, I'm going to blow up the Taylor Swift concert. Like there was a plan.
There was a
plan in place.
Yeah.
There were chemicals, there were knives that were seized. Like this was
and it
highly
was
sophisticated plan.
Yep, it was supposed to be with the thousands. I think it was 33,000 people. The onlookers outside would have been the people who were actually impacted. And it looks like, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was the 17-year-old who actually applied for an application, to work for some kind of company.
Somebody who would bring in the popcorn or the chips or the beer.
Yes.
Somebody who had access to the stadium, which makes that so much more real.
Exactly. So it's definitely very scary because there was thousands of people. And this is actually something that even Taylor Swift in the past, like years ago, I think it was 2019, she actually brought up that she was scared after like the two incidents that happened in 2017, one of them being the Ariana Grande.
That one, it was in the UK, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was one of those things where she was scared that like there were millions of fans that would have, she was afraid to go on tour prior. So as of when I checked, I don't know if she's put out a statement yet on this yet. I haven't checked yet, but yesterday she didn't. She was pretty quiet about it. But the event organizers were like, that was the best thing to do. And it makes sense, right? Because it comes down to safety at the end of the day.
Third arrest was made today, which was weird. I thought they said no more arrests were coming, but that's not what happened.
Was that the 15-year-old that they were questioning?
I might have been, yeah.
Okay, because there was
third person in the now foiled plot. But like I said, this was a real attack. This is, it's another teen. And they didn't have any ties. Did they have ties to extremism? Did they say, or were they?
Yes, they did.
They did.
It was ISIS, I believe.
Yeah. Okay. Well, again, scary stuff.
And Al Qaeda.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I think it was both. Yeah.
Authorities say the plot appears to have been inspired by the Islamic State and Al Qaeda. They found bomb-making materials, and the teenager confessed to planning to kill as many people as possible outside the concert venue. So some scary stuff. And like you said, more Taylor Swift's still on tour. She's coming to Toronto for a bunch of shows. How do Canadians react? How do Canadian authorities react? And like I said, how does she react?
I think there was also fears for some Swifties that to go to the London one, right? So
and London has gotten, I think the Canadian government issued a warning about traveling to London this week and all that stuff. So yes, scary world that we live in.
Scary, yeah. Things are just...
And something that's maybe not so scary, your story today, pretty interesting.
A little bit of a turn of events.
So 7-Eleven, so almost all of the 7-Elevens in Ontario, except for one, has received, the one at Pearson Airport.
Yeah.
Other than that, all of them have filed for the paperwork, whatever.
Two of them already serve alcohol,
including one right down the road.
Yeah.
Niagara Falls. And I'll tell you a story. Carly Conway, our old assignment editor, she was working on this story to go to this 7-Eleven for weeks. And I was going to be the reporter who did the story, who would go out to the 7-Eleven, shoot the interview about being able to drink at 7-Eleven. But there's going to be rules about drinking at 7-Elevens, right?
Yeah.
You have to be served it. There's going to be, like, what's the latest on this?
I'm pretty sure you have to, you can't do it outside the premises. It needs to be inside.
Yeah.
And I believe it's, obviously, you have to be the legal age of drinking.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I think the ones in Niagara right now are like, and Leamington, correct me if I'm wrong, they're actually in like a closed case, like it's like locked, right?
I think so.
The staff has to actually get it for you.
Yeah, they have to pour it for you. You can't take it off the premises.
Yeah, there you go.
Why?
What
in
do you
your story, why do I want to go to 7-Eleven to drink 6 or 7 beers? I don't even like the food at 7-Eleven. Like the food at 7-Eleven is disgusting. Like, I'm sorry. I'm not going to get any.
No, 7-Eleven Slurpees is the only things that I'll ever go.
But like you're seeing that like pizza or the chicken wings that are in that case, and you're just like,
never tried it.
At no point have I been motivated to be like, what I feel like? Some 7-Eleven chicken wings. Like,
no.
You know what I feel like? A beer at 7-Eleven. Like why? That's my question to you. Why?
I don't know. I can't tell you why.
You talked to Schreiner. You talked to Mike Schreiner, the Green Party leader.
And he was like, literally, quote unquote, that the four government's obsession with like serving alcohol in convenience stores. It's like, he's like, get your priorities right, basically.
You would think so. Yeah, you would think so.
Because there's a lot of other problems that need to be addressed. But I mean, over the years, we've definitely seen Ford's
Yes.
comments about alcohol.
And you're putting something together for Trending Now tonight.
Yes, I am.
No?
We'll just have a little bit of a recap of that.
All right. Well, we'll be sure to tune into tonight's show for that. Big plans for the weekend? You went camping a few weeks ago. You survived.
Went camping. I survived.
So you're taking some time away, taking some time away from the family after that for a few weekends? Or what?
Unfortunately, I haven't gotten a chance to do that yet because every weekend there's something.
Okay, hopefully they're not watching.
No, I love my family.
Okay.
But it's just when we're all together, there's also like a lot going on. But
I love that.
them. We all love our families.
I believe it. Yeah, we all do.
Any big plans for you?
You know what? I'm off for the next 9 days. So
where you going?
Nowhere. I don't know. Somewhere. I don't know. But I have 9 days off, and I'm going to do something. It was very last minute. It was very I booked this like 2 weeks ago just to take some time off. So I worked mornings this week, and then I work mornings the week after. So I was like, you know what? 1 week in August where I can sleep in later than 3 a.m. So that's going to be next week.
Sleep in later than 3 a.m.?
Yeah. Because when you're on the mornings, you have to be up at 2:45.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Okay. I was like, what?
All right, Manesa Dhanabalan, everybody.
I could have said something mean and I didn't.
Yeah, so. Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Okay, bye. All right, my thanks to Manesa Dhanabalan for joining me today. My thanks to Jason Gaidola and Nicole Martin as well. My thanks to Mike Corsten for directing today's show. And my thanks to Alex Pohl for being the best darn production assistant in the afternoon and in the world. There you go. Katie's going to be mad at me that I said that, but there you go. All right, and thank you for listening and for following us, which you can do on our various social media channels on Trending Now, including X and YouTube at Trending Now CHCH. At Trending Now CHCH. There you go. And while you are liking and subscribing, make sure you subscribe to CHCH Podcasts so you never miss an episode of this show or any of the other great shows we have for you, including Sportsline with Bubba O'Neill. You can catch that one every Monday to Friday, wherever you get your favorite podcasts, or go to chch.com/podcasts. From all of us here at CHCH, I'm Louie Butko, hoping you have a great weekend.